Hello students, welcome to Indian economic classes. Today we will discuss about inflation. Most of us are experiencing this phenomenon, inflation in our day-to-day lives, especially. Uh, and what is this inflation, and are there any types of inflation, and what is the government role to control the inflation, and what are the different types of inflation based on their rate, how fast it is evolving in inflation. Is it good for economy or bad for economy? Sometimes inflation and deflation both are necessary evils. Especially inflation is necessary evil. These are the statements from the economist. Why they called it is inflation is a necessary evil. It promotes growth. The growth needs employment. By employing more people, the rich and poor gap in the long run will be bridged. In this context, they have said that inflation is sometimes necessary evil for economic growth. And we will discuss about this in great details in this class. First, let us understand by basic words. Let's suppose PRS has a small agriculture land. To understand this in clear terms, we are taking an example. So let's say PRS has a small agriculture land and in his village and grows apples there. So he is actually growing apples. All his apples are sold in a city store. So in nearby his vicinity, there are city stores. He actually sold their products to the city store. In 2014, I have taken this example as 2014 and 15, and uh, you can compare it with 2022 or 23 also. In 2014, you bought an PRS apple for 20 per piece. So for 20 rupees, you will get one apple. For 20 rupees, you will get one apple. In 2014. When it comes to 2015, the same apple, the one apple that you are actually want to buy from the PRS garden, it will cost to 22 rupees. So obviously there is a price difference between the 2014 and 2015 years. So the price difference is here called as inflationary rates. So generally inflation is calculated over a period of time, over a period of time. On goods and services. On goods and services. In this case, we are taking an example of Apple. So from 20 rupees to 22 rupees, there is a increase in 2 rupees. So this 2 rupees increase is called as inflation rate. So it is not only rise the cost of Apple, and also the purchasing power of consumers, especially consumers will fall. So this is called inflation. And when it comes to this Apple Store discussion, let's have a discussion on two aspects, especially. Case 1 and case 2. So case 1 being why prices of apples are increasing, and case 2 from perspective of consumers, especially consumers. So in case 1, the price rise could be because of increased supply of cost. So price rise could be increased cost of supply cost. So here you may have doubt, what is the supply cost, sir? Supply cost may be labor charges. If there are any increasing labor charges, that production house obviously will pass to these customers only. And the second one is transportation cost, especially in rural areas. Transportation cost also high. And the third one be input cost for that apple growing, especially fertilizers and seed cost. So based on this, the case one would be why there is a price rise because of these factors. There might be labor charges, there might be transportation cost, there might be fertilizers and seed cost for production of these apples. This one being case one. And another one is case two. Case two is especially from demand side. Demand side. So now people have more money. People have more money in their pockets and they rush to the nearby shops and they are demanding. And they are demanding the goods and services. To reach these goods and services, there is not sufficient supply. Supply is low. So obviously there is a mismatch between demand. Demand is high and supply is low. So the consequences would be the price rise. Obviously, the price will rise for the goods and services. And in in second case, the case one generally the case one being known as cost push inflation. So because of cost pushing, the inflation is occurring in economy. Second example is demand pull inflation. So we are pulling the demand based on our demand. If there is sufficient supply of goods and services, there won't be any inflation rates in market. If there is no sufficient supply in goods and services for our requirement based on need, then obviously the price rises will be increased, rising of prices. First one is cost push inflation, and the second one is demand pull inflation. So let's understand base demand pull inflation and cost push inflation in great details. So first one would be demand pull inflation. Demand pull inflation. Demand pull inflation. So why there is a demand for that? In our example, especially when consumers are demanding more apples in the same store, then obviously the supply, whatever the supply that PRS Gardens has already in its store is not sufficient to meet people's demand. So obviously there is a price rise. This is a demand pull inflation. What might be the reasons for this demand pull? So first we will understand what are the reasons why there is a demand from especially consumers. So first one is increase in money supply. Increase in money supply. So these money supply concepts will be in monetary policy concepts, especially monetary policy. In our RBI banking chapters, we will discuss it in great details. As of now, why money supply is increasing in economy, especially when there is more money available with the people. People have more money. People have more money. So obviously they will demand the products. Demand will be increased. When there is a demand in market, if there is a supply is very less, then obviously prices will shoot up. So this is increase in money supply. Increasing money supply is also happened by increased wages. Why there is increased money supply means sometimes wages also increases. Wages increases in industrial labors. Wages increases and sometimes savings also increases and sometimes more disposable income. A disposable income. Disposable income is nothing but whatever the income that you have left over after you paying taxes. So your personal income minus your taxes, whatever the taxes you are paying for the government, after whatever you left with the income, that is called your disposable income. Let's suppose income tax. Let's suppose you are working in a MNC company. Let's suppose or at TDS, tax deduction at source. Let's say you have 10% of tax bracket under 100 rupees. Let's say your income is 100 rupees and tax is 10%. 10% of 100 is 10 rupees. So you will get 90 disposable income. Let's take another example. Let's say personal income is your 100 rupees and government tax slab is 5% only. So 5% of 100, 20. So whatever remaining money. So there is a disposable income variable that also present in taxation system. So it disposable income, according to this available disposable income also, you may demand some products and services. That's why increase in money supply also one of the reasons for demandful inflation. And the second one is government spending. Second one is government spending. Why government is spending on you? Government spending. So most of the democratic nations around the world, they are mainly welfare policies. They are mainly connected to welfare policies. For the poor and very economically weaker sections of the society, they will spend more money. So in that case, when government is spending on people, they directly not spending by giving pocket money to people, but they will provide work, just like MNREGA work. For suppose we have Mahatma Gandhi National Rural Employment Guarantee Act. It is a demand-driven work for 100 days in rural areas. In rural areas, it is a demand-driven work. During COVID-19 times, this work has also increased to 150 days. So because why? From urban areas during COVID-19 times, people are migrated to rural areas. So to accommodate their basic needs, the government is considering MNREGA scheme to be implemented for more than 150 days. So 100 to 150 days, they have increased the days also. For that, they will pay regularly, weekly or 15 days. Weekly or 15 days, they will pay the amount. So because of this MNREGA scheme and extra days they have allocated for people to work, the money available for working class is high. So for 100 days, they are getting their wages. And again, they are giving 50 more days to work during COVID-19 times. So the gap 100 to 50, 50 days work will get another additional income. So these additional income also create some demand in rural areas based on their requirements. So obviously there will be a price rise. So nobody knows exactly people what they are looking for and what they want to purchase with that money. So obviously some sectors of the economy will, the prices will rise, and some sectors of economy, the goods and services price will be sometimes stagnated or sometimes even deflated. So this is one of the reason also. And the third one would be population. increasing population, increased population also has pressure on resources. So more the people, more the earnings, more savings, more savings, and obviously when there is more savings in our hand, more demand, more demand. So in this way also, the demand for the goods and services will increases. So obviously inflation comes into picture. And fourth one being black money. Black money also one of the main aspects for inflation. Black money is with legitimate or illegitimate sources of income. Legitimate and illegitimate sources of income. So if your black money or money under reporting to the governments and tax authorities, the leftover money, whatever you have with you, these can be used to go to buy gold or properties, and most of the Indian economy working population is unorganized sector. So 90 to 95% of working population is unorganized sector. So you can accommodate with unorganized sector and create black money. Once you create the black money, that black money, whichever not under the control of government or tax authorities, you can easily uh, buy the products from regular markets. So obviously, whenever you are demanding for more goods and services, there is a price rise. So this is very general understanding of inflation, how inflation is occurring in economy, and what are the different factors, especially from demand side. These are some of the few causes for type demand pull inflation. And when it comes to cost push, and the second one being cost push inflation. Cost push inflation. So the name itself suggests that cost is pushing. By pushing the cost, the inflation is occurring in economy. So how the cost is pushing in this case? Let's say take an example of in wages. Let's suppose there is increase in wages. Why? Increase in wages. So we have associations, labor associations, and sometimes government also working towards the betterment of industrial workers. Sometimes they even give an ultimatum to the companies that from next year onwards, from this month onwards, you have to increase the wages for your industrial workers, so that inflation, whatever the whatever the inflation that is present in the economy, so that they can accommodate themselves with that inflation rates. Otherwise, there is much inflation in the market, and your wages are very low, so that their basic sustenance also not possible. In that case, sometimes the companies, they will increase the wages. Once they will increase the wages, what will happen? So let's suppose they will increase the wages. Obviously, the cost of production means wages also included in that. Cost of production increases. Once the cost of production increases, what the companies will do? They will simply transfer this burden to the consumers. Consumers need to pay more. Need to pay more for essential goods. Not all the goods, for essential goods and services, they need to pay more because of cost of production cost of production has increased. Why? Because they have increased the wages for labor. So in that case, The consumers at the end of the supply chain, the consumers who want to purchase the goods and services, they need to pay more for the goods and services. This is one of the reasons. Increase in wages also have effects on inflation. And the second one, government regulation and taxes. Government regulation and taxes. Sometimes government is increasing indirect taxes or direct taxation system based on indirect and direct taxation. Sometimes government is trying to increase the taxation, and sometimes there is decreasing the taxation proposal. So because whenever there is a surplus amount with the people as a consumers, they will obviously try to explore the things and uh, get goods and services. So obviously when there is a demand for that goods and services, the temporary mismatch between demand and supply will create a price rise. So it is also leading to inflation. And the third one being exchange rate. So India being a open economy. So India is not a closed economy. Till 1991 and 92, India being a closed economy. After LPG reforms, India opened for many reforms, liberalization, privatization, and globalization. So once the companies, whatever the companies from abroad, especially Western developed countries, they will invest in Indian markets, either through FDI or FII. So obviously there is a exchange rate volatilities. So in global market, we are accepting dollar as the accepted currency. Once the companies, they want to close the business in India and they want to schedule to their home nations, they will obviously sell the Indian currency, that is Indian rupee, and they will get the dollars in that place. Or otherwise, whenever there is a import, let's suppose 80 to 85% of our India's needs are made by imports. So let's suppose whenever there is a import cost is increase, import cost. So the producers who are residing in India, they want to import some intermediate goods from, let's say, China, Vietnam, or Russia, whatever may be the country. At that time, if there is any volatilities in exchange rates, so the import cost sometimes increases. Import cost sometimes increases means the production cost also increases in India. So end of the day, the companies, they want to make profits. They are not in for charity services in any economy for that matter in capitalistic societies. So obviously when there is an import cost increases, the production cost also increases in India. So this production cost ultimately led on people or consumers. So and finally the consumers fed up with paying the uh, more pay for the same goods and services that what they are actually entitled before also. So in this way, the exchange rates also uh, determine the cost push inflation. And most importantly, rising production cost also will rising production cost. Rising production cost means factors of production. In economy, we have factors of production. Factors of production is four types: land, labor, capital, and entrepreneurship. So whenever there is any increase in these prices, whenever there is a price rise for land, whenever there is a labor, whenever there is a production cost because of capital and entrepreneurship, so any one of the factors, the factors of production, if their production cost increases, the inflation rate also increases. So This is a basic understanding of inflation, how inflation works in an economy, whether it is good for economy or bad for economy, and what are the two main types of inflation that any economy around the world or not only in India is especially facing, and what are different types of economy that we will discuss in next class based on the rate with how much percentage of inflation rate it is moving in an economy. Based on that we will categorize mostly 5 to 8 categories of inflation types: creeping or walking or trotting, galloping, these type of inflation and deflation, disinflation, and is it good for economy or it bad for economy, and what are different types of curves associated with the inflation and unemployment, inflation and inequalities. So these everything we will understand in the next class. Thank you for watching class.